This video presents an overview of the Rochester Institute of Technology and United Nations University Institute for the Environment and Human Security submission to the ESRI and United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction 2014 Global Disaster Resilience App Contest and our project, Building Disaster Risk Reduction and Resilience Spatial Thinking Skills Using Serious GIS Games. Disasters are inherently spatial as they can operate on multiple geographic scales and affect people and the places they live. Spatial thinking, supported with geographic information systems, is essential so that entire communities know about the hazards and risks to which they are exposed so as to be better prepared and take measures to cope with potential disasters. Despite its importance, few educational approaches exist that can be used by schools and local communities to teach disaster resilience and risk reduction spatial thinking using GIS. Our citizen public-facing app directly addresses UNISDR's Point 7 on the 10 essentials for making cities resilient, or ensure education programs and training on disaster risk reduction are in place in schools and local communities. Serious games are games designed for non-entertainment purposes like UNISDR's Stop Disasters game. Our game is the first serious game to specifically focus on training, educating, and building awareness of community, disaster risk reduction, and resilience spatial thinking skills using real GIS tools. Intended users of our game are city personnel, community partners, schools and local communities, and professionals from the social and economic sector. Our approach is unique in that we have designed our game so that players need no prior GIS experience and can take full advantage of the power of desktop ArcGIS to build and learn disaster risk reduction and resilience spatial thinking skills. The game is launched through the Python window of ArcGIS Desktop. The game begins with some basic tutorial information on understanding the ArcGIS desktop interface for game players that may not be familiar with ArcGIS. Additionally, game players are given a brief overview of basic map interactions such as pan and zoom, and spatial data querying tools such as identify and measure. The game player is then given an overview of the scenario that is the basis for the game. In this example, the game player will make disaster risk reduction decisions based on a real-life flooding situation that occurred in Magdeburg, Germany in 2013. The game links with real historical information about the disaster scenario the game player can access to learn broader context about hazards and disasters in the city. The game player is then prompted with questions designed to build and evaluate spatial thinking abilities supported with GIS. In this example, the game player must make a spatial thinking decision based on what type of ground elevation representation is best for this scenario. The game player makes their selection, and the dataset in question is automatically added to ArcGIS, thus eliminating the need for knowledge of how to operate ArcGIS while still seeing the capabilities of ArcGIS. The game continues with several related questions that make the game player think spatially about other types of geographic representations needed to understand disaster risk reduction. The game player is then given questions related to using GIS analysis tools. In this example, the game player has to think spatially about buffer distances for creating emergency shelters in the city. ArcGIS then performs the geoprocessing functions and adds the outputs to the map as seen in this example. At this point, the game player is then given feedback on their spatial thinking decisions and how those spatial thinking decisions relate to disaster risk reduction. The game continues in a similar manner with the player being prompted to make spatial thinking decisions using GIS and feedback about those decisions. At the end of the game, The game player is given a final score based on the answers they selected. The game player can use this score as a measure of their spatial thinking ability and to gauge disaster-resilient spatial thinking learning and improvement. For more information and to download our app, see the information below. Thank you for watching.